Welcome to my assignment presentation for the General Motors case study project. This is presented by Dallas Nelson, and this is presented to MGMT 4370, Decision Making in Business Policy, Spring of 2024. Before we dive into the case study, I want to give a brief introduction onto what General Motors is as a company. General Motors was founded in 2009 in Delaware. In addition to that, another big topic I want to talk about is GM North American Vehicles. They manufacture or market under the Buick, Cadillac, Chevrolet, and GMC brands. In addition to that, they have many overseas products as well. They have a lot primarily in China, with vehicles developed, manufactured, and or marketed under the Baojun, Buick, Cadillac, Chevrolet, and Wuling brands. This is my SWOT analysis highlights the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that I believe GMC is under. For strengths, I believe GM provides commercial vehicles tailored for fleet and business applications. They also have the OnStar capabilities, and they, with the OnStar, have 21 million subscribers globally. Another strength that I want to talk about and focus on is how they established a significant foothold in international markets, particularly in China. Unfortunately, one of the weaknesses that I believe is that GM is operating profit decline from 7.34 to 5.14 from 2021 to 2023. Another weakness that I believe is undertaking GM is going to be the company has reported revenues in United States dollars as 156,735 million for the fiscal year ended in December of 2022. This is an increase, however, the company has recorded a net margin of 3.7 compared to the net margin of 7.9. An opportunity that I see with GM is how China is their largest importing country. They could also be able to put that significant foothold in Germany and Japan as well. In 2021, they're going to try to overtake in Germany. In 2022, they're going to try to establish a foot in Japan. Another opportunity that I see for GM is the affordability in becoming a major issue weighing in on new vehicle sales. Everybody's buying pre-owned nowadays, but if they want to establish a very good customer rapport, they would want to migrate to the lower priced used vehicle market and hone that market for themselves before any other competitors can. A threat that I believe faces GM is, of course, another company. The non-luxury vehicles, such as Ford Focus, uses roughly 300 chips. The Ford Mustang Mach-E EV contains 3,000 chips. So Ford is really taking charge in regards to the chips that they're putting into their vehicles from multiple different categories, from body comfort, powertrain, vehicle dynamics, multiple things that they're establishing as they are the leaders in this market. And that could threaten GM overall in any of their brands in the future. Another thing that is a threat is this brand new thing, whilst car sharing companies utilize cars as their medium of operations, the sharing element results in a low number of new cars being sold because people are sharing cars and doing these like car to go, car sharing things. People are not buying more vehicles. There's multiple different things that could threaten GM as an overall, especially if people are not buying new vehicles to sustain the company. They could maybe partner with these car-to-go companies and make a partnership, but we'll see what they do down the road. This is my SWOT analysis highlights for 4 strategy statements. So this is going to be discussing the previous slide that we just talked about. This is opportunity 1, strength 2. GM has established a foothold in China, like we discussed. It requires the company to navigate carefully and leverage its strengths and innovation overseas. This also be able to where they can diversify their product portfolio and expand the market share. Over here is the threat 1, strength 1. One strategy for addressing the challenges posed by the chip shortage and everything like that is that Ford and GM could actually collaborate, make a partnership where they can develop and innovate solutions and alternatives to all the things that are getting shorted. Over here will be the opportunity 2, weakness 1. GM faces struggles, challenges, like we have discussed. That's why they're bringing in a net loss. However, like we discussed here, there's many things that they can do in regards to opportunity to bring up all those numbers where they can actually have a very, very high profit like they did in previous years. Over here is threat 1, weakness 2. This is probably the strongest area where they can focus on. GM could adopt a comprehensive approach by focusing on streamlining, making things easier, operational efficiency, boarding its supplier networks, making all their suppliers, every other company that they work with, that get their supplies from, making everything more streamlined across the board. In addition to that, GM ought to explore alternatives for the semiconductor like we talked about. And like we said, I'm pretty sure if GM could consider collaborating with Ford to jointly address the challenges posed by the chip shortage, then both companies, not just GM and not just Ford, both companies could benefit overall. In this slide, I'd like to talk about the space analysis highlights, the 2 factors for each of the 4 positions. The 4 positions, of course, being the financial, competitive, industry stability. Going to start with the financial. Of course, we're going to be talking about money in this category. Both of the 2 factors is in regards to their revenues that they earn, and of course down here will be the taxes that they owe, especially in Korea with the 807 million. Competitive. This is from MarketLine. It's a lot of information about how GM is distributed across multiple different countries. As you can see, is that as of March 2022, the company operated in 16 production sites in Japan. So they are overall growing drastically over in Japan. So, in addition to competitive, the GM EV technology and programs are considered to be highly diverse suppliers where they can remain competitive in any economic environment. In any economic environment, the EV technologies that GM can have been showcasing, will be able to work anywhere. And no matter how the economic time is, competitively, GM will be probably the leader in this category. Quickly going over to the industry, the marketing cost tends to rise and fall. Automakers devote about 10% of sales revenue into marketing cost. This, when attempting to simulate demand, however, they may spend 14 or more. So this is just an overall industry thing. Normally, the automakers will do 10% of sales revenue to marketing. Marketing, of course, is getting your name out there, ads, partnerships, all that kind of stuff that will help sell your products. I think GM can probably put a more percentage of their sales revenue into this category, just because I personally don't remember the last time I've seen an ad for any of the GM products. In addition, over here, the auto industry is a cylindrical, so financing product development R&D can be a challenge, especially if other industry leaders like Ford and everybody else jump on something first. Then it's kind of one of those that are heading cylindrical. They need to hop on something, so it can be challenging during the periods of reduced demand, especially if it's like a bad car market or anything like that. And of course, stability. Over here, it's just briefly talking about how the JD Power US internal initial quality study, the IQS, has measured the problems with customers where they really don't want to buy new vehicles within the first 3 months. That's also typically the time when that's the vehicles that cost the most, was within the first 3 months. A lot of this has to go with the pandemic. In addition to the microchip shortage, it's been pretty rough for new vehicle purchases and production because of that. So that's why we've been seeing a lot more markup in pre-owned vehicles coming around. Over here is more numbers and information about the shortages that have been hurting since 2022. A lot of this has to do with the shortages, as you can see. New vehicle sales price hit a record high of 49,698 in December of 2022, before a 3.6% pullback. So they're lowering the numbers of new vehicles because of the demand or lack of demand that customers are having for these new vehicles. This slide is a continuation of the previous slide. This is the space analysis highlights, list of the strategic options that I believe GM can embark. I put together 8 of them. Before we talk about that, I just want to briefly talk about how I believe the quadrant that our GM is in as a business is in the aggressive quadrant. After doing the math from the previous slide, looking back over here, there's multiple different options that I've brainstormed and figured that GM could embark on improving themselves as a company. From focusing on different features in the product category, market penetration by expanding its market share by targeting existing markets. So maybe stuff that's not vehicle related, aggressive pricing, promotions. They can form alliances like I talked about in a couple of the other slides, mostly with Ford. Vertical integration. They can integrate by acquiring suppliers so they don't have to rent to people or buy out goods from people. They can buy out the suppliers, have them under their umbrella where it's all still built in-house instead of having to go back and forth from a middleman. In addition, of course, geographical expansion, pursuing areas that people haven't touched with vehicles, even though they're already in multiple different countries. This is just continuation of that. Brand extension. They can make products where it's not just about the vehicles. They can extend their brand over to a bunch of different industries that have competition, and GM can embark in taking part of that competition. Kind of like how the Michelin, same thing with the Michelin tires. They're the same Michelin with those stars. Or like how Guinness the beer is the same Guinness World Record books. two brothers. They can innovate and technology leadership. They can be all a part of the innovation and technology that goes into GM's vehicles, like how futuristic and fancy with all the technology that the Teslas are in, even though there's a lot of downside to that. And just cost leader. They can pursue a cost leadership strategy by focusing on operational efficiency, making things more streamlined, making things more profitable by minimizing production and operation costs. But these were just a couple ideas. I'm going to be talking about two of them that I want to hone in on and focus on next. This is a continuation from the previous slide. This is the strategic recommendations that I want to discuss more about in regards to GM. Alternative strategy number one is the one I want to talk about is the geographical expansion. I believe GM can pursue geographical expansion by entering new international markets or expanding its presence in existing ones. There's a lot of things that they can do in regards to going into areas that other vehicle manufacturers have not put their toes into yet, and making vehicles for that side of the world where maybe vehicles are hard to get to. In addition to that, they can also continue and focus harder in on the international markets that they already sell to: China, Japan, Germany. An advantage of this is that entering in new international markets or expanding its presence in existing ones, this will allow GM to tap its new customer segments, thus leading to increased sales and revenue as GM reaches untapped markets and attracts new customers who have different preferences or needs than those in current markets. 10K 2023. So basically, they want to expand the amount of people that can have GM products, even if it's already in the market where they have this other vehicle. We want to be able for them to buy our vehicles, especially the ones where they need more of a choice in the matter of what vehicles that they can buy. A big disadvantage of this is that expanding into new international markets or increasing presence in existing ones, this will involve significant investment in resources. GM could face challenges related to cultural differences, regulatory requirements, and market competition, which could also increase operational complexity and costs. See RFA 2023. Just earlier, we talked about how we want to start streamlining the process for GM. And by doing this, this will drastically not streamline and make things way more complex than they need to be. The second alternative strategy that I would like to talk about is the brand extension. GM can extend its brand into new products or categories or markets to leverage its brand's equity and customer loyalty. This strategy involves launching new products or services under existing GM brands to capitalize on brand recognition and reputation. It's one of those, yes, at first this is probably not going to do so well, but over time it's going to continue to build and build and build, where we want to be able to be more than just a vehicle and more than just a car company. We want to be able to spread our reach more across multiple different markets, especially ones that are in need of a little switch up into the competition. Advantage of this will be extending its brands into new product categories or market segments allows GM to leverage its brand's equity and customer loyalty. This results in increased sales and market share as loyal customers are likely to purchase new products or services from a brand that they trust. So, Sustainability Report 2022. So, like I stated earlier, it's one of those brand loyalty, customer loyalty. Oh, GM. I know GM. I have their vehicle. I'm gonna buy this. It's clear as day, black and white, very easy to get sales off of customer loyalty. However, a disadvantage of doing this is expanding into new product categories or market segments carries the risk of diluting GM brand identity. Introducing products or services that are perceived as inconsistent with the brand's core values, quality standards, may damage the brand's reputation and erode customers' trust. 10K 2023. Yes, this is a disadvantage to where if we release a product that didn't do so well, it could hurt our loyalty from our customers. But from there, it's one of those we are going to try to continue to build and get a return on different markets to have different customers in those markets. We want customers to be able to buy GM products that are more than just a vehicle. But overall, these are the two options I think that GM should focus and hone in on if they want to better improve their profit and sustainability for the preceding years. Strategic recommendation, strategy selected with justification. So, the strategy that I selected was the alternative strategy 2, the brand extension. I really, really like the idea of expanding our reach more than just into vehicles. Being able to be not just on the road, but in the home of our customers. We'll be able to grow as a company because of all of the additions that we'll be adding into our vehicle line or our branding line. Down the road, we can also encompass this by making it to where we can make, like, if we make our own GM vacuum, we'll be able to clean your GM product vehicle a lot more easier than a normal vacuum would. So my overall justifications of these ideas is that this will leverage our brand equity. This will also reduce our marketing costs if you already own a GM product. No GM, so you'll buy GM. In addition to that, that also branches into our customer loyalty and cross-selling opportunities. We can maybe make an opportunity to where if you buy a GM car, a new GM car, you get a GM X product for free. And we'll be able to cross-sell, cross-merchandise, and to cross-promote our ever-arcing brand of non-vehicle items to customers that, well, will buy the vehicles. This is also an we'll be able to use already existing distribution chains and suppliers to branch off into these ideas. This will also help enhance our brand image and increase our competitive advantage. If we have things that work with just GM vehicles, we'll be able to have an overarching family of GM related products. And this will also diversification of risk. So if one product doesn't do well, then we can bet on another product to do better, or we can try to tweak the product that didn't do too well, put out a second version of it, and hopefully from there it will do a lot better than previously. But I think overall the brand extension idea this strategy, it is a very good idea for GM to get more sales and get more revenue than just worrying about new vehicles getting bought. They'll have this brand of smart appliances and stuff like that that they can build off. In this slide, I'm going to talk about our implementation plan for the brand extension idea. So this is going to be a slow burn in revenue. We want to gradually grow this line and this idea throughout the years, not just having it big selling and then eventually it dying off and not gaining us money. We want to have a slow burn and we want to gradually grow up throughout the years in revenue. So in year one, we'll hire 150 workers for the first project, the first one, and then 125 for line workers. 125 for line workers, and then the other 25 will be management and the brainstormers, our Imagineers, as you would say, people that are coming up with the ideas and getting things figured out on a blueprint level. The prices for these incomes can roughly fluctuate between 80K to 120K per year, depending on where you're at. In addition to that, we'll be building a 125K square foot for assembly line production and small office space for a brand extension team. We want to have one location that has this branch of our company building products, coming up with products, getting things figured out, and have a overall headquarters to where they can feel safe in our family of companies where they can build these ideas and have great ideas down the road. Going over to our financial impact for this year, 100 million for line workers. So overall, it'll be about 13 million per year in expenses for the um, new product line family. I think that's an okay. Depending on how it goes, we might be able to get more, especially if we start making multiple products and we can just focus in on selling all these multiple products as well. For the new building, it's going to be 75 million at 2% and an entrance expense of 15 million per year. We wanted to have a good location, not just for this team, but for our company as a whole. We want to have a good location to brainstorm and build. For our second year activity, we'll be making experimental prototypes of vehicles or of our tools and our products that can work outside and inside the vehicles. Just like I mentioned earlier, like the vacuum. Let's say we have a Dyson-like vacuum that you can have multiple attachments coming in and coming off. And with that, we'll have a car exclusive, GM exclusive vacuum extenders that make it 10 times easier to clean the GM products than other vacuums could because this is our vacuum. We know exactly where dirt, grime, lost french fries, anything like that can end up. We know where it will be at in the vehicle, so we can build tools to attach to it this brand new vacuum. In addition to being able to go inside the house, just like on the normal floor, you'll be able to vacuum up and down your GM related items and products. This will cost about 125 million to build multiple different types of tools and uses for these GM related tools that can work inside and outside of our vehicles. In addition to that, we'll be hiring 100 more assembly line workers to meet customer demand. We got a lot of good feedback, and we needed more customers or more assembly line workers to put out that demand. Going over to our year two financial impact, this will be 125 million for prototype building. If these prototypes do well, we can put them into future vehicles. Thus, we can raise the price of our future vehicles because of the extra GM products that are in the vehicles. So, if these do really well, we can have it to where you get the baseline vacuum and some attachments already in the vehicle whenever you buy the brand new vehicle. And because of that, we'll be able to raise the prices of our bigger ticketed items, our vehicles, um, because of the additional GM related brand products. Because of the 100 more assembly line workers, there will be a 8 million finance for assembly line workers for their salaries. Lastly, is going to be our year three. So we made it 3 years into our brand extension idea. This will produce 4 commercials promoting our new line of GM non-car products, costing 100 million in total. Marketing. We want to market these brand new items. We want to make sure that customers are aware that that GM that you see on the sales floor is the exact same GM that you see on the road. Now, the reason why, going to the financial impact real quick, the reason why it's going to be 100 million for this is because this is an encompassance of all 4, from the actors, from the production costs and labor costs of these commercials. Going back over to the activity, we'll build a contract with one of the big companies within the industry, and we're trying to expand into. Like, we can get a GMX Tyson collaboration. This will be a 400 million partnership for 4 years. Because of a partnership like this, the cost of goods sold will decrease by 5% because we'll be having to give some also to the other brand that we'll be collaborating with. This will be a 400 million for 4 years, 100 million per year. Thus, the COGS decreases by 5%. I think overall, this is going to be very beneficial for GM as a company to grow and expand themselves across multiple different industries overall. This is the financial results. We plugged in all the information that we put into last slide. We put it into a spreadsheet. So now we have the overall total wise for our balance sheets and our income statements. If we look over here, this is our balance sheet. We have year 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026. As we can see every year, our total assets just keep growing. Overall, we're doing really well in regards to our total assets because we're making more products and because we are making more sales. Our overall assets will continue to grow. Now, coming down here, same thing, 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026. These are going to be our income statement reports. So if we look here, like we talked about earlier, our cost of goods sold, as you can see, our cost of goods sold right there will decrease by 5%. That's when we got our partnership. And you can see that over time, all the stuff that we plugged in from the very beginning makes a pretty good impact on our income. But since we're doing so well in our total assets, I think all of this is 100% justified for GM to make more products that are not just vehicles, to extend the GM family of products, and to have GM not just in the road, but also to have GM in the customer's houses as well. If a customer buys a GM vehicle, they know the GM quality of work, thus they'll be able to trust in our brand new brand extension products. In conclusion, the alternative strategy that we picked was the brand extension. GM can extend its brand into new product categories or market segments to leverage its brand equity and customer loyalty. This strategy involves launching new products or services under existing GM brand to capitalize on brand recognition and reputation. This is our long-term objective for the brand extension idea. GM will increase its sales/revenue by 2% for year one, 3% by year two, and 3.6% for year three, thus a total of 8.6% by the end of 2023. Like I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a slow burn for these brand new products, and we are hoping for year four we'll have probably about a 4.5% increase as well. We want to continue growing in this category. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at dnels1.jaguar@gm.com. Without further ado, though, thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the semester, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day whenever you do listen to this. Thank you very much.